What's going on, guys? Tyson Anderson, Mr. Hammerdown. Listen, guys, by way of request, I've got a good buddy of mine, Mr. Philip Whitaker. I'm doing this mainly because of you. Appreciate you for making such a request. So I want to dig off into this thing of how to strengthen. Come here, Ruger. I want to speak about sorry, I got the dogs out here in the back of the yard now. But I want to speak about this thing as far as how to intensify and increase your phenotype and genotype characteristics in your dogs. Go. And, go. And what I want to do is, go. So what I want to do is talk about that a little bit. Sorry, I'm trying to round them up. Let's go. Come on. Here. He said to me, he says, well, you've done it with Sock It To Me, and I want you to sort of, enlighten the people, elaborate a little bit about it and how you've done it and so forth. Well, I can tell you one of how I done it or did it, and I can suggest to you or tell you how I think, in my opinion, how it should be done. First, let's talk about this. What is phenotype? Phenotype is a set of observable characteristics of an individual resulting from the interaction of its genotype within the environment. What does that mean? What you can physically see of a dog, of a horse, what you can physically say that dog goes back to. Hey, listen, man, the Sock It To Me dogs you look at Sock It To Me here, he's got the long tail, he got the big ears, he's got the marbly eyes, he's got that chin, that distinct coloration. Okay, well, when you go and you start looking at the dogs that come off of him, boom, this female here, Elk Creek's Amazing Grace. You start looking at Mr. Brent Gay's dog. You start looking at this female here, Money Sunk Socket, Money Sunk Mountain Man's mother. You start looking at the Buddy dog, the Katie dog, my Pride female right here. You can see that distinct look of that long tail, of those marbly eyes, of those ears. Look at those ears right here of Grace. And then look at the ear of Sock It To Me. Look at the ear of Sock It To Me. Then look at the ear of my Pride dog. That is the phenotype of that lineage bursting through the seams, okay? It is the observable trait that bloodline is pumping and revealing through the seams, so many years later, right? 10, 15, 20, whatever years later. All right. Then what do you have? You've got genotype. That is that will be the actual performance. And I'm just going off and saying that. That is the actual performance, right? The combination of alleles of a dog, and how it has, its traits as far as performance. If a dog has, again, let me go to Sock It To Me. If a dog has a chop mouth like Sock It To Me, he's got a chop mouth. Oh. Okay. He produces, through that genotype characteristic, he produces a chop mouth dog. He's never through a big roaring, screaming mouth dog. He's always through a chop mouth dog. He's got good hunt. He's a upper medium fast dog. That's what he's, medium, strong medium to medium fast dog. And that's usually what he threw. He didn't throw a strong female or a strong male that had this big booming mouth. They had a chop mouth. They were medium to medium fast dogs, mainly strong mediums. Okay. So when you take all of that into consideration, that genotype, I don't have the actual dictionary right here in front of me. I'm sorry for not preparing, but I had phenotype already in my phone. So, but when you think about how dogs behind your dogs have influenced what you have, most people don't know because they haven't got a chance to study those behind them. It's so important to assess the dogs behind instead of the front. We can have a dog that'll be a national champion or international champion, or a dog just won the grand, some big grand slam or grand national or whatever world. And we look at, oh man, this dog just did this. Oh my God, I got to breed to it. It doesn't exactly mean that that dog is going to carry the genotype gene, which is the gene that you really need to be concerned about, that dog is able to throw, meaning reproduce, exactly what he or she is from that performance perspective. Can that dog throw and reproduce and recreate what he or she was and how he or she ran that caused it to do such great exploits? That is the thing that everybody is after, okay? If you have a certain look where a thick tail, you like a red dog, you like a lemon dog, you like a black and tan white sock dog, whoop, whoop. You like a blue tick dog, whatever dog it is, right, that you like, you need to pay attention to the dogs behind that dog to see if the dogs behind that dog is the actual reason, Ruger, is the actual reason to why that dog, good boy, to why that dog that you like so much is behind the breeding that you have. The reason being is because, sorry guys, this is totally raw and uncut. I don't hold any punches. I just show you guys, I have a dog. But the reason is because you could very well fall in love. I want you to hear this. You can very well fall in love with the dog as the individual. No, good boy. As the dog, as the individual. Hear me. I'm continuously saying that because you could easily fall in love with the dog as the set individual, but the breeding behind that dog may not be one that is confined by the look or the performance of what you fell in love with. Let me say this in a more layman's term type of way. You may fall in love with this dog. Let's say his name is Kojak. I'm going to use Kojak, right? Kojak is a red dog, white socks, flag tail, or pencil tail. Let me say pencil tail, thin tail, tight ears, tight mouth. He's just everything about him. You like him, right? Red tick on his legs. But when you go behind him, third, fourth, fifth generation, yes, the third, fourth, or fifth generation, it does matter. Why? Why does it have influence? The reason being is because whatever dogs is in the third, fourth, fifth generation, they're there. They're in the third, fourth, fifth generation. They are in the genetic pool and the genetic makeup of that dog. So people say, well, this baby comes out, two light-skinned guys, or hopefully not guys, two light-skinned people got together. No. Two light-skinned people got together and they had a dark complexioned child. Two blonde, blue eyes got together and they produced a black hair, green-eyed person. Well, how is that possible? Well, the reason it's possible because the genetic makeup. And one of them may have a long, silky, black-haired, green-eyed great-great-grandfather, great-great-grandmother, great-great-great-great-great. And you never know how, that's why it's called a pool. You never know how the genetic pool or the gene pool is going to select, or how Mother Nature is going to make her selection. So it could go back as far as the time will allow it. It can go back 20 generations. It's a genetic pool. But what you do is you make your selection, or you increase the chances, the probability, the number of outcomes that favor in your way you make that determination off of how you breed. That's why it's so important. And I want to go back to this third, fourth generation I was just talking about, right? That dog you love and you fell in love with, right? You just like so much. You're so infatuated with, right? You just that level of emphaticness is just boiling. But that dog may have came from lemon or black and tan dogs. And you might love red dogs. So you fell in love with that dog and now you want to go with that line. And you think that Kojak is going to continuously throw red dogs all the time. But then you go to breed Kojak, and out of 10 litters, he only throws you one red dog that looks like him. Everything else comes out lemon or black tan, white socks. That you're trying to figure out why. I can't get my head around this. This dog might have been one out of all of those hundreds of dogs in those gene pools that came down through the pipeline of 20, 30 years, and you just didn't know that was a odd dog. Something in there crossed up, some kind of pigmentation genes crossed up, and you just so happened to get the red dog with the red ticking on him. You didn't know that it was going to come out like this. And the breeder may not have known it was going to come out like this. It just might have been one of those dogs. And he or she may have sold you the dog that is the oddball of the genetic pool. And therefore, you're not doing your homework. And it's not a put down, not a bash. That's why I say, learning is so advantageous. Getting to know lines and getting to familiarize yourself with who did what, who bred this, who did that. If you want to familiarize yourself with the champions and all that stuff, that's fine. But I go to talk and sit with people because I want to figure out about genetics. I want to figure out about characteristics. I want to figure out about mannerisms. I want to know these things. Why? Because all of those things are important. And here it is. So now you may be stuck between a rock and a hard place. You're trying to figure out, what do I do now? How do I get to the place of better getting a hand on this specific type of dog or this color? Now, do I throw away everything or do I? No. Well, that's up to you. You have to figure that out. But watch this. If you say, hey, let's throw that out the window, I want to go a totally different way, and you select a dog that in the third, fourth, fifth generation, they were nothing but red tick dogs. And let's say you get an opportunity to better select a dog from a line that's all it through. And then you find a male, you find a female, and you maximize. You get that in your mind, you maximize. For me, it was socket to me. And I can only continue to go back into that because that's what I'm breeding. That's my base on females. That's where my base starts. I knew what they brought to the table. And though they weren't the baddest dogs in the world, they were as solid dogs as anything that's out there. They hunted good, they looked good, they had good leg, they had good bite. I don't know any socket to me dogs that ever threw an underbite dog. They weren't mouthy, they were spot on with their mouth, they were clean dogs. The dogs I've seen, I've had from a certain line, I like the Good Time Southern Pride dog out of all the Sakatumi dogs that were out there and that I've got a chance to see personally. A lot of those dogs that were out there, they were called Sakatumi dogs. Most of their papers were hung. They weren't Sakatumi dogs. You had to know the traits. And I won't go into all of that, but Mr. Lewis Long, he had a chance that actually, the guy that had Rabbit Ridge New York Nick after Mr. James Bolin brought New York Nick down from New York and allowed him to go to Mr. R.B. Sester's that had Indian Hill Major. Mr. R.B. Sester traded Mr. Lewis Long, New York Nick, for a Kingwood Shorty female. And that Kingwood Shorty female, served him. I tell you, that was the greatest trade he ever did because it landed him New York Nick. Well, he got a chance to, no. He got a chance to see, some really nice dogs out of Nick, right? And therefore, he got a chance to make his selection quick. The dog really chose him. And doing a little bit more study, he got a chance to pay attention and see what was going on. And he got a better handle around it. So he was able to continuously create and recreate and create and recreate and resolicit those type of females on the bottom. But ultimately, watch this, he got a chance to get his hands on Good Time Southern Pride. He had him at his house. He raised him. He ran him. He developed him. And I respect his opinion deeply. And I know I'm all over the place because I just love this stuff. But when I saw what I saw in Katie Dawg, what I saw in Good Time Slow Down Buddy both being out of Pride, I knew it wasn't coincidental. I knew it was not. And in just a change of the females, I knew I had to maximize on that genetic makeup of Pride. So I did a half brother sister cross that gave me 50% of Pride. That was as if I did not lose that generation. Okay? Here's what I was going to get into. Inbreeding and inbreeding right. Educated inbreeding. Educated outcrossing. That is the way to keep a genetic pool. That is the way to make the third, fourth, fifth generation equal up to what you want it to. When I say 50%, what are you talking about, Tyson? Okay. In everything that's out here, it takes two, right? You are 50%. Let's look at this thing. You are 50% of your mother and father. It took two of them. All right. In the second generation, hey, y'all stop trying to get out of that fence. In the second generation, it's four of them. It's two sets of two. So in the second generation, those are the grandparents. Your dog is typically going to have two 50s, two 425s. It's going to have my mind went blank. It's going to have 8 12 and a halves, and it's going to have 16 6.25s. All right, that's the genetic, that's the COI makeup of a 4-generation pedigree. COI means coefficient of inbreeding. You want to pay attention to that. All right. If you want the influence to be strengthened, get away from there. Get away. Go. If you want the genetic makeup to be intensified, hey John, to be intensified, you want to increase those numbers because that is the natural base of COI numbers. There's nothing spectacular about that. You're going to have the 250s, your parents. You're going to have your 425s, your grandparents. You're going to have your 8, 12 and a halves. Those are your great-grandparents. That's third generation. And you're going to have 16 great-great-grandparents, of the 6.25%. In a dog's makeup, you want to have higher numbers than that. Now, all kind of scientists and all these people have tried to put this rule of thumb into play, this type of breeding chart and all. Listen, I can sit here and tell you that if you got more than 20% of a dog that's in the 4th or 5th generation, hey man, that's too tight, and you're going to get it. Anytime you inbreed, you're going to take chances of getting genetic defects. You're going to take chances of getting genetic deficiencies. But if you don't take risks, you don't have a chance to reap a reward. So you have to take those risks. And if I took a risk on anything, I want to take a risk on keeping something and intensifying something that should be dead and gone. Example, Sakatumi has been dead for 30, 40 years. Can't remember the exact year of when he died. I've been up since 5, and I've been doing so many other things in my little lab. But my Anderson Southern Pride female, she's 48.864% Sakatumi. She's not even less than 2%. She's not even 2%. She's less than 2% shy of being a direct 50% on paper daughter of Sakatumi. Think about that. Dog's been there for almost 30, 40 years. Here she is, almost 50%. The dogs I've got now, we're getting ready to start soliciting. Those dogs will be, 20%, 30% of this, and 20, 30% of that. Dogs has been there for 30, 40 years. We've got a Dingus female right now. She's 19% Dingus McCrae. Dingus McCrae's been there since what, the late 70s, early 80s? She's 19 and like 0.4%. She's like she's like 6% shy, 5.5% shy of being a granddaughter. That would put Dingus McCrae on paper in the second generation if that was the case. But That's not the case. She just has him resolicited so many times. When you look at a pedigree and you see a dog in the 4th, 5th generation, or by the 4th, 5th, 6th generation, 7, 8 times, that dog is going to be highly intense highly intensified on that COI makeup, because you have chosen and selected that dog out of all of the makeup in there. You have selected that dog and resolicited that dog over and over and over and over again. So whatever characteristics physically, genotype, right? Whatever you can physically phenotype, whatever you can physically look and say, man, that dog, that's a Sakatumi dog right there. Man, that's a Reggie dog right there. Man, that's a such and such dog. You can do that because you have intensified your COI. You've intensified your influence of how these dogs may take after the mama, may take after the great-great-grandma, the great-great-granddaddy, the great-great-great-great-great, because you have made your selection. That's why I tell people it's so important to figure out what it is that you want, because you can take, and this is where I'm closing, I'm bringing it in, you can take and figure out a dog 3, 4 generations and do enough research. And if you have the material to select and inbreed controllably, it's the difference between inbreeding loosely and breeding controllably. Controlled inbreeding is one of the greatest things that ever happened to the breed world. Horses, chickens, dogs, anything. Because you can control, or at least you get a better handle on what you're going to get. And I think that's the life of everything that we're doing. If we don't figure out what we want early on, we're pretty much dead in the water. We're a shark out of the water. We're a fish out of the water. Because the sooner you figure out what you want, the sooner you can figure out exactly who you want to inbreed, who you want to stick to. And then you got to get you a game plan, guys. You got to pick out how you want to put these things together. And then you can go and look at old pedigrees and say, hey, this is how they did this. And maybe you can imitate how they did it. Some of the top breeding dogs, some of the top producing dogs, like Fish Creek Andy, I go back, I look at his pedigree. I look at Mount Zion Pete. I look at these big dogs. Some of these dogs were hybrid vigor dogs, but they had the producing gene that continuously allowed them to reproduce what they were. And I think if you pay attention to that would serve, like I said again, rather advantageous, because any knowledge that you gain is going to be applicable to that of whatever you're trying to do. So guys, get something in your mind of what you want, because listen, the 3rd and 4th and 5th generation, they do matter. But you determine how much they matter, and you determine how much influence you're going to allow them to have or not have. The more you outbreed, you outcross, and you just go and breed to this champion, this flavor of the month dog, the more you increase your chances of not being able to get whatever it is that you're after, because you're going away from the spectrum. The more that you focus in and you inbreed, I'm not saying inbreed. You need 2 or 3 breedings or bloodlines that are intense on those families so that you can go back and forth and do controlled breedings to keep the thickness of those dogs. If you don't do that, you're shot. You're done. That's the secret. There is no other arithmetic. That's the science. There is no deep philosophical analogy. That is the equation. Get those COIs up of the dogs that you're looking to keep and you're looking to move forward with, and that is your answer. Remember, in the 1st generation, you got 2 50s, mother and father. The 2nd generation, you've got 4 25s that are both sets of parents on both sides. In the 3rd generation, you've got 8 12 and a halves. That's your great-grandparents. This is a set of all on both sides. And in the 4th generation, you've got 16. In the 5th, you've got 32 325s. Or excuse me, 32 of the 32 3.125s. So you want to get those numbers up. So guys, get those COIs up so that you can see 20, 30 years later the resemblances. I'm gonna give you this one last little thing. Look at this female right here. This is Anderson's English Bobby. Anderson's English Bobby is a line-bred jigs female. She's about 32.7 or 32.8% jigs, right? I got it from a good buddy of mine. I'll leave his name anonymous. Trevor Adams bred this dog. A shout out to Trevor. Great bred dog. This female is living her best life in Massachusetts with a buddy of mine, good friend of mine. Him and his son are avid followers, and I love those guys, man. They have been more than patient with me, with this female in a situation, and I'm so grateful. Look at this female right here, and then look at this picture of field champion Branko's White's Blizzard, and look at the difference. Now, this is a voiceover, so I'm not sure of the year. I know it's 1970 something. I want to say 72, 74, 78. I'm not sure, but I'll add the picture later. But look at this picture. Look at the difference between 30-something years later, right? Almost 35 years later. Look at his tail. Look at her head. Look at his markings. Look at his feet. Look at her toenails. Look at his. I'm going to go back and forth. Look at this. Go back and forth. Look at this. That is the phenotype that's being displayed. That is the characteristics of how they look in similarity. So many years different, but look at this. Why is that? Because this female's got about 13 crosses of Annis Ann. And it goes right back. I mean, Close Call Girl. Boom, it goes right back. That's Close Call Girl's brother. All right? You see that? Now, does she run just like him? I don't know. She hunts good. She runs a good rabbit. She's a solid dog. But there you see the phenotype gene bursting through the seam. So I'm just throwing it out there to tell you guys, those high COIs is where it's at. Stay there. Stick there, and you'll be productive in your reproduction. Until next time, Tyson Anderson, Mr. Hammer Down. We'll see you when we see you.